Chris Eubank Jr. played Conor Benn. Today I'm going to discuss the key points that got Chris Jr. the victory and settled the family rivalry. Because all those years ago when Chris Sr. fought Nigel Benn, in the first fight, Chris got the decision, and in the second one, they made it a draw. It was controversial, but that's what happened. If you're new to the channel, my name's Lawrence Oswecki, a professional boxer and also former member of GB amateur boxing team. This fight was about legacy, Chris Sr. and Nigel Benn passing on the torch to the sons, continuing the rivalry, settling the score, and we know who came out on top, and that was the Eubanks. Chris Jr., in my opinion, like his father, has commanded every part of this fight, from the date it was announced right till the present time. I think he's been great all the way through. I think we've all seen a different side to Chris. He's definitely won me over, and I think he's also won the fans over. I think he's shown how intelligent he is, articulate, cool, mentally strong, and that he can deliver on his word. In the mind games of being next level. Before fight night, before the bell rings, in the build-up, it's all about mind games, trying to get a mental edge. And Chris Eubank Jr. is one in every department. We had the press conferences, and Chris commanded the stage, and he wouldn't let Eddie Hearn, one of the best tongues in boxing, talk. Silenced, job done, tick. Then we had the iconic egg slap, absolutely loved it, sent Conor raging, got into his head, embarrassed him, got people talking, excited for the fight, job done, tick. Even when Chris and Conor done the Piers Morgan interview, Piers Morgan and Conor basically tag teamed him, and Chris dealt with the situation perfectly, with class, he was cool, and he still came out on top. The finale was when Chris Sr. arrived at the fight. I was doing a live stream when I watched this live and I got instant goosebumps. It was quite emotional. I need to take another look. Let me know what you think. Was this all part of the plan? Look at the smirk on Chris's face. And I also love the moment when Nigel and Conor watch Chris Sr. arrive. They're both in shock, thinking, here we go. And the whole arena erupted with cheers when Chris Sr. arrived, and that would have given Chris Jr. an instant lift, whereas Conor Benn would have been instantly deflated. And the only moment of success that Conor had in the whole build-up was when he said to Chris, your own dad doesn't like you. And now, sadly for Conor, that one moment of success, that slight upper hand, is now being squashed, erased, gone. And Chris Sr. says he was always going to be there.
I was always coming. Yeah, this is a show, right?
It is.
So there's an element called suspense. So, now you felt it. Okay.
This is a show, right? There's an element of suspense. You've got to love it. I absolutely love Chris Sr. Such a showman. He just has a presence. I don't care what the Benns say. Him arriving must have been a real kick in the gut. If it was all a plan, and Senior was always going to be there, that is some move. I mean, that's the ace card right there. Conor had tried to play mind games of his own because he asked Billy Joe Saunders, Chris's former opponent, to overlook Chris getting his hands wrapped. And anybody that knows Billy Joe Saunders, he's got a mouth on him. And Conor was hoping, having Billy Joe Saunders in the dressing room before the fight would unsettle Chris. And Chris's team had said, yeah, it's okay. And then moments before, denied access. And it all kicked off, Billy Joe Saunders threatening Chris's manager. And as you would expect, Billy Joe Saunders was giving it the big one, saying to Napper, when you see me outside, come and see me. Let's just take a quick look at the interview with Napper.
I was never going to let him come into the change room all along. From the minute I heard that's their plan, I thought, no way.
Plain and simple, all part of the plan that had everything covered, leaving nothing to chance.
Moving on, we saw Chris Eubank Sr. rock up. When and how did this get arranged?
We knew for a hot minute, but we couldn't say nothing. Otherwise, it wouldn't get the response that it's getting now. So, yeah.
So there we have it. They knew all along that Chris Sr. would be there. It's mind game mastery. Getting to the fight, Conor did start well. He started fast and he looked explosive. And Chris was struggling with his speed. Conor's head movement, it was good, and Chris was finding it hard to find the target. The problem for Conor, all the bobbing and weaving, ducking low, and he was loading up on every shot. It takes a lot out of the tank. It's all good and well if you get your opponent out of there, but if you don't, it makes it difficult down the stretch. It's all down to experience, and experience Conor doesn't have. Conor did catch Chris and hurt him, I think it was the 3rd round, but because of Chris's experience, he was able to get through. And this is where Chris struggling to make weight in the rehydration clause played its part, because Chris definitely can't hold a shot like he used to. I can totally understand why Chris Sr. didn't want his son making this weight, because he's dead at the weight. 160 for Chris is no good. He needs to move up because he's outgrown the weight. In fairness to Chris, he was able to use his experience from his fight with Liam Smith and survive. He's always shown a good chin, could take a shot, until his fight with Liam, and he was badly hurt. But until you've been hurt, you don't really know how you'll react or what to do. But he used that experience and showed survival instincts. And I always say it, experience you can't buy. The difference in this fight was Chris was able to make adjustments. He was able to read what Conor was doing, his speed, his timing, his rhythm. But don't get me wrong, because Conor was still catching Chris, but it's boxing. You can't go in the water without getting wet. He did show some good defense at times, slipping and rolling underneath, slipping and sliding, riding the shots, taking the sting out of the shot. Because sometimes when people are fast and you can't get out the way, just rolling and riding the shot stops you taking the full force. In Conor naturally being the smaller man, the speed difference was obvious. At times, he made Chris look like he was throwing punches in the dark. All the way through the fight it was close, it was nip and tuck, but the big change came halfway through, when Chris decided to turn it into a dogfight. Because of the weight cut, Chris was drained, his feet were slow, and his hand speed wasn't quite there. He thought to himself, I can't compete for speed, I'm going to have to make it messy and take Conor into deep waters. And clearly it did work, because Conor on the front foot was getting success. But when Chris was able to push him back, he wasn't getting half the success. Because come forward fighters need that momentum. So when they push back onto the heels, they're nowhere near as effective. Chris really made Conor work in a range he's not comfortable with, and in waters deeper than he's ever been before. I could break it down round by round, punch for punch, but the simple fact is, what won Chris the fight was experience. I said this before the fight in my prediction video, that experience is key. Credit to Conor for competing. Well, more than competing, he pushed Chris all the way down to the wire. It's an achievement in itself. Despite the lack of experience, he gave a great account of himself, and he showed sides we hadn't seen before. And also, Conor's power. At 160, it wasn't there. Even in his previous fights, at 154, it wasn't the same. The fact is, he's a 147 fighter. The proof's there. We've seen the difference. At that weight, he can do something. After the fight, I loved it when Chris Sr. was getting interviewed, and they said, what won Chris the fight? And he said, it's the tenacity.
What do you believe won you the fight tonight, Chris, through those 12 rounds?
I pushed through.
He's just a legend. How can you not love him? Everything he says and does is just gold.
He couldn't move around the ring, and so he had to stand toe-to-toe. I mean, that is legendary behavior in the ring. Legendary, and this...
I love it, and I'm here for it. I could watch him all day. Without him being there, this fight wouldn't have been the same. I said this earlier. This fight was about the dads passing on the torch, carrying on the legacy. So his presence was a must. And also the fact he's the most entertaining out of the lot. And just quickly, the referee, I can't think of his name, but it was great work. He let the pair fight and he intervened when necessary, but it was great work. It was seamless. Thank God we didn't have Howard Foster. And for the record, it was a close fight, but for me, Chris definitely won. Forgetting the result, both guys had clearly put in the work because they were both in tremendous shape. The real winners were the fans because they gave us a war in fireworks and more. We're in for another treat because the rematch is already being scheduled for September. I would watch that fight again any day of the week and twice on a Sunday, no problem. All I can say is a massive thank you to Turkey Al Sheikh for giving us these great fights. He's changed the game. And huge credit to both Chris and Conor because they represented the father's legacy beautifully. And really, nobody lost. They can both laugh their way to the bank. Tell me what you think. How did you see the fight? And did the right man win? And also, how would you see the rematch go? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.